All right, welcome to the Three Bros Podcast, where we lob grenades at each other and try not to get triggered. Well,
and always fail.
Always fail. Episode 64. Your boy Sai.
Nintendo 64.
I'm joined by, I'm told his name is Mr. Dithis, something like that. And Conrad.
I hate you. You did this last week.
Last week we only had Prometheus inside, so we got all three this week.
I didn't realize we had Prometheus with us. Thank you for being here.
Mr. Dithis.
Shout out to Prometheus.
Be easy,
Great
Mr. Dithis. Okay, anyways.
Mr. Dickus? Oh, sorry.
Brilliant. Carry on.
All right, we're doing three topics. A little change. We're doing a couple hypotheticals and then an article that I wanted to do. So I'll lean in here and do the first hypothetical. So Chad, oh my gosh, Mr. Dithis.
Just say
Chad. Yeah, all right. Chad proposed to I know. I'm doing that every week, by the way. Chad proposed. Chad proposed a couple hypotheticals that were definitely fun to think about. I'm going to just read the first one off and tell you guys what I'm thinking. We're going to go in order on each one of us, what we think. So basically, hypothetical 1, Trump is found to have colluded with the Russians and Mueller proves it objectively. How do Republicans / his most loyal reporters react? I kind of reacted to both how Republicans and his most loyal supporters would react separately because I feel like those can be two separate things.
They definitely
just to start off. Yeah.
They definitely are.
So what I said was, I think his most loyal supporters obviously would probably cry foul, and some demand action against the deep state or some stupid stuff like that would boil up from them. But I said most Republicans, I think most, and by the way, most is just a simple majority. Most Republicans wouldn't support him anymore if the evidence is overwhelming and it's objective, which was a good word to use in that hypothetical. The key is obviously what is the evidence, which we won't know. We can't know. We're just doing the hypothetical. I'm super excited to see what the evidence is, by the way, because we're gonna we should do a whole pod on just like.
Oh my God!
I feel like we totally do an immediate reactionary pod to what we think is about to happen after it drops. But and then I also added one thing that comes out of this, in my opinion, is a reshaping of what the Republican Party is, and this can go. It's gonna be interesting because this can go. I wrote in one of two ways. After he leaves office, he starts his own party. That's one way, obviously. And if that happens, that kind of rips off a lot of Republicans. Remains to be seen how many, right? And then the other way is he just takes over the Republican Party, and that becomes like his party, and he just owns it. And there's a lot of people who end up, because of this objective report of collusion or conspiracy, because collusion is not actually I hear that all the time. But anyways, then there would be a maybe more fair-minded, common sense Republicans would rip off, right, and form their own party. So those are just the two things that I wrote. Go ahead, Chad.
No, I definitely am with you on your first point there. I don't think that he would commandeer the Republican Party. I think once he does become soiled goods, as far as Mueller really objectively laying it out for them, I mean, we've seen the Republicans right now sort of rebuking Trump with his stance on Khashoggi, the Saudi journalist that got murdered in a Turkish embassy. They're like, Trump, what are you doing? We see what these intelligence agencies are saying. We know more or less what happened here. Why are you defending the king of Saudi Arabia? So I don't think that he would commandeer the Republican Party, but I definitely agree that there would be this weird core group of Trump supporters that are still do or die to this day that would.
Do you think he'd split them off?
I think he would. I think that would happen.
Agreed, because he could monetize it. Go ahead.
He could. I think they would schism themselves off, especially if Trump went to prison. Some of those Trump supporters who came out and voted for the first time would probably go back into the shadows and stop participating in the political paradigm. But I think a lot of them would become very active. And that's scary to think about, especially because they're extremely pro Second Amendment. And as you guys know, I keep my finger on the pulse in terms of r/the Donald, in terms of Breitbart. These people genuinely have the wherewithal and the gumption to take up arms if they feel like they truly are battling a deep state in the government.
I would pause you there just because.
You don't think so?
No, I've heard this time and time again. I used to work somewhere where I was involved with some folks who were really hardcore into that here in New York State. This was before
Trump,
Donald Trump. No, this was when Cuomo with the SAFE Act.
Okay.
This is when even before that, when I was in the military. What you have are a bunch of people that like to get together on the weekends, feel somehow that they're owed something, and they shoot guns. They're nowhere near organized in any way, shape, or form, and the most that they're ever going to do, unfortunately, is maybe shoot up a government building, and we've seen that. So I don't think that's I don't want to discount what you're saying, but I think that fear is a little unfounded.
But so what they're saying is this is a justly elected president. And that there is a deep state agency and a mass media, whatever, that is actively working against him. You don't think
that narrative has always been there. I mean, you go back to the Bilderberg Group, you go back to the Illuminati. You just watch Alex Jones for a week and a half. That narrative has always been there. So
it's always apocalyptic terms.
Right. Do I think this is what pushes them over the edge? No, I don't think so. And even if they did go quote unquote over the edge, the most you're going to get, and I shouldn't, minimize this at all, but you're going to get like a Timothy McVeigh type of thing. You're not going to get a war. But there
are loosely arranged quote unquote militia groups, self-described militia groups.
I got to be honest. I've gone to a couple of meetings of those groups.
Really?
In the local area.
Okay.
And not anything to fear.
Wow, you didn't go to the most extreme though.
No. Yeah, but you see videos of them, right? You've seen the Michigan militia.
And also, if the most extreme militia started shooting people up, you'd hear about it. I really don't. So,
listen.
Yeah,
again,
it would
not
get
just
smacked down real quick as well.
Again, I've been to a meeting or two of these things, and you're talking about weekend warriors who are about 80 pounds overweight and barely know how to fire a rifle properly. I'm being honest. I'm trying to be objective.
I just love that term.
Severely overweight people that have
I believe
a fetish.
When you also apply I believe that when you also apply common sense to the actual athletes, the actual people who could be really great soldiers, they're going to actually be soldiers because it's more respectable. It's not respectable to be in some random militia with a bunch of weirdos on the weekend. If you're actually in the Navy SEALs or you're actually in Delta Force, like there's a lot of respect that goes with that. There's, so if you actually have the wherewithal to reach those rungs of society, you're not going to be at the weekend warriors. Go ahead.
You have to actually go through something to attain that level. You have to go through basic training. You have to go through BUDS. You have to go through a Q course. You have to go through Ranger school. You have to, you name it. You've got to go through all these things.
Hey, we're all Rangers.
The goddamn gambit to achieve that tab, to get that respect, to earn your trident, to, you fill in the blank, whatever that is.
Yep.
You don't have to when you join them. Do you have an AR-15?
The discipline, the respect,
you don't even need to have
the
an
hierarchy.
Listen, I went on a run, right? They were doing a PT workout, and I went with them, and we had to carry ammo cans, and I'm pretty sure I carried the ammo cans about 70% of the time. And I had been out of the military for 3 years, and I was smoking these guys.
Yeah.
So,
there's an incredible subreddit called Behold the Master Race. I don't know if you've seen this, Cyril.
Oh, dear God.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. So it's and I don't want to equate hardcore Trump supporters with white supremacy or white nationalism, but obviously they may be a little different here. I don't want to place any labels on anybody that doesn't deserve it.
But when you say hardcore Trump, go ahead.
Yeah, right. So there's a loose connection there at the least. But it's this incredible subreddit where they post pictures of people who are like blah, 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 like whites, master race, we're at the top. And they're like goobers. These overweight, like
they're goobers.
Goobers that are
the same goobers that are in the pictures of those like what the fuck army pictures where it's like dude deployed and he's like the fat like
Cyril, when you're wearing the obviously it's the ACU, but what's that one top? You remember they made that specific top that was like skin tight so you could wear your body armor a little more effectively, a little cooler?
Yes.
What was that thing called?
Yes.
And you had guys that were just fucking. They looked like they were wearing several inner tubes beneath their shirt.
What was that?
Oh my God!
I forget what it was called.
There's the most famous one I can think. There's a fat white guy wearing that, like leaning
a DFAC
thing.
No,
is
the
he-
one that I've seen, he's sitting in a
Oh.
DFAC with like 3 cheeseburgers, and he's got 4 inner tubes worth of fat
right.
around his
And
belly.
because most units don't get that kind of stuff issued until they actually deploy, people are like, oh, it's high speed to wear shit like this. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah.
Well, I know when
Oh my
I was
God.
deployed,
I'm
both
dusting
times, there
off
was
the old
restriction.
terminology. It's high
There was-
speed. I should start
there was-
using it now. Yo, are you high speed?
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
When I was deployed, if you were in 3rd Brigade and you couldn't pass a tape test, you weren't allowed to wear it.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
Oh
People
my
just look like
God.
dog shit.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, so I
All right,
that's
way off
where
the
I go
rails.
when it comes to
definitely way off
you
the
know,
rails.
what I would,
right.
if you guys don't mind, let me continue on with this hypothetical.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hypothetically, what would the Democrats do? Because here's my fear: this gives Hillary that door back and say, "Oh, well, I
No.
would have won, so I'm going to run again."
No,
I don't want to hear that name anymore because she's
it won't.
I-
It will not happen.
not gonna run. And if she does run, because of and tell me, you guys can tell me if you disagree. If she does run, even if she does run, because of the historic amount of just motivation and energy against Trump, we're going to see a lot of Democratic candidates run for president. There's already
absolutely
like
will.
a ton that have made it clear they're going to run. A ton
100%.
already. And so Hillary's going to have to slot. You're really going to. Trump was bolstered in 2016 by the fact that there was a ton of Republicans running because of energy and hate against Obama. Okay. The same thing's going to happen against Trump, except more so. Okay. Because
I
it's
agree.
Trump and it's magnified. And so, unless you're someone who sticks out and you're really progressive and you're bold and you're ready to change the future of this country, you're not going to stand out in this field. If you're Hillary Clinton, you're not
You
going to
won't.
fucking stand out.
Especially
I
not
hope-
after you saw
Yeah.
the level
but
of
she-
enthusiasm for Bernie, and
No,
you
no,
saw
I know,
that
I know.
Hillary she just was not liked. She was not liked. Her message was not well received. They focused on the wrong thing. There was a hard pill for the DNC to swallow. And
Sure.
if they don't
Well,
learn their
let's
lesson,
go back. You can adjust that. You can make those changes. I could see
No,
somebody
no way.
certainly selling her and saying, "Look, we can do this again. We can do it right."
I would be
because at the end of
Difficult,
the
but
day,
we'll see.
hold on. At
Difficult.
the end of the day,
Right.
the
It's a
one thing
difficult
you
task,
can't
though,
take
man.
away from her is the fact that she is a household name.
No,
All
it's
these
a
other
tainted
folks
name.
that are.
It's a tainted name at this point.
It might be, but it's a household name.
It is, but it's a
Dude,
bad one.
Yeah, but
okay,
but
it
Chad,
doesn't matter.
here's where I support Caleb. You in 2016, you had someone who won in a system where they even lost the popular vote, but they still won,
Yeah.
and they were very hated. And a lot of that was because they were a household name and they played politics the exact right way. So let's say a Hillary Clinton-esque person comes around and somehow wins the nomination. Yeah, sure. If they're a household name, they can still, if they go to the right states and sell themselves to the right electoral votes, win an election, even while Donald Trump wins the popular vote. Like, that could happen.
We're not talking about a
Oh.
Hillary-esque type person, though.
Well,
we
look,
are
Hillary's not
literally-
gonna run.
We're talking literally.
I'm done with
about
that name.
Hillary.
Yeah, it's not.
You can't
That's
be
my
done
thing.
with that name. She continues to talk about it. She continues to like.
I will be
Everybody
subtle,
talks.
furious.
Here's the thing.
Rethink.
Here's the thing. I'm so
Go ahead.
sick of Hillary articles because everybody has an opinion. All you have to do is stick a microphone in someone's face. Why are we criticizing Hillary for having an opinion still? Don't talk about it. She's not in any leadership. She's not in any power position. The only reason she comes up is because conservatives use her as a boogeyman. And if you think I'm wrong, that's fine. It's just the evidence is there. She
I
has
do.
no
I
power.
do think you're wrong because she has
Why?
more credibility than 99%
Well,
of
just-
people.
just
Because
shut
she
the fuck up and
begins
sit in
to-
her house and not do nothing. Come on, yo.
No, of
That's
course
crazy.
she's going to talk about it. She's going
So
to have.
then
a
why are we
comment for
upset
it.
about
She was at
the
one
fact that
point the
she's-
Secretary of State. She was New York State Senator. She was, you know what I mean. She's done a ton of things.
Are
She's
you upset that she's had a voice since the 2016 election? Are you upset about that?
no.
it sounds
I
like
don't
you
care.
Oh, so then what's the problem?
The problem is that if the Democrats, you know, if she gets back into the game, like that's just, in my opinion, not good for the Democrats. The
absolutely is
Democrats
not.
should be looking for a.
I agree. It's not. I just don't think she's going to. That's crazy.
Mark should be running.
I'll say this, Caleb. If she
I don't know.
does,
See, Beto. I don't know about Beto, man. He's not motivating. I
No,
don't know,
he's
man.
not.
Oh, he won how much percent of the fucking?
only
But he's-
because he was
I don't
running
know,
against
man.
this absolute slime
He's-
ball.
Caleb,
Ted
you were
Cruz
right.
is just a-
He's
That's
motivating.
fair, but still,
He's a motivating orator. Policy wise, we'll see.
Yeah, he's not very.
But you can win.
You-
But Chad, Caleb, in Caleb's defense, you can
motivating
win.
orator. Who else?
What?
Oh shit, Barack Obama.
And Trump a little bit too. No, yeah, I was gonna say in your defense, you can win just being an orator. You're not
You
wrong.
can. Not to
gonna
take
be
anything away from Obama because I
another-
thought he was more than that, but you can do it.
Right.
So as far as I'm concerned,
I just
think
hope
it's
we
gonna
get someone with
be-
good policy too. Go ahead.
I think it's going to be Biden in 2020. I think he's going to be one of the front runners.
gross.
And I'll say this. You don't like Biden? You don't like Joe Biden?
I'm okay with Biden.
I'm not.
We need someone
Tulsi
outside the
Gabbard.
box. Biden feels like another corporate Democrat, and I don't like it.
Yes, that's why they'll choose him.
Tulsi Gabbard, I like way more than Joe Biden. Way more than Joe Biden.
But that's what I'm saying is they will choose Biden because he's a safe choice. They've learned their lesson. The DNC.
Who's they?
The DNC.
Wait a minute.
How is the DNC going to choose anything? I thought people voted them in, Chad.
Oh, stop. Now you're just being ridiculous. You know they favored Hillary
we're not
Clinton the entire
Chad's
time.
putting on his tinfoil. This is a rare moment.
Are you serious?
To be fair, I think
Debbie Weiserman Schultz, are you serious? You saw
Chad,
this.
I'm going to say one thing to you. Chad, okay, hang on.
Regardless,
you're allowed to respond.
No, let's not get hung up on that because it's not my.
Let me say one thing to you, and you're allowed to respond whenever you're ready.
Sure.
Let me know. Okay,
I'm ready now.
Allowed to.
Go back and look at the total vote count throughout the whole Democratic primary nomination process and tell me who had the most votes. Now, let's move on to the second. Oh, do that privately, by the way, not now. But let's move on to the second hypothetical here.
Oh, no. What? No, hang on. What? Just one more.
The answer is Hillary Clinton. Let's move on to the second hypothetical.
Okay, that's kind of a moot point.
Why is that a moot point? Why wouldn't you win
DNC
your
very clearly favored her and gave her all the reasons.
Of course they did. Of course. And if they didn't push their foot on the gas, then maybe Bernie would have won. Sure. But he didn't. And let's move on. Second hypothetical.
Whoa. One more thing, though, because I wasn't finished with this. Because we've talked about the DNC. We've talked about the Trump supporters. I want to know how you guys think the Republican Party moves forward if this doesn't indeed happen.
If this doesn't happen?
If it does happen, if Trump is found objectively to have colluded with the Russians, and he gets whatever happens.
Are you asking how
do the Republican Party moves forward
without collapsing? Right? You're asking how we think they should move forward without
because that would be an absolutely massive blow to them. It would be.
Well, one way you move forward without collapsing is having most of the Republicans just abandon him. I just don't know if it's going to be most.
See, that's my concern.
Right.
Because it sounds like this is the hill they're going to die on.
And also, by the way, think about this. If this is true and it's objectively proven, Democrats have to start the impeachment process. I don't care if you're a conservative or a liberal. Like, if he did something weird, you have to start to... Well, would they?
Everybody has to be on board if Mueller comes out with objection.
Because you need a 67 Senate vote. You need 67 votes in the Senate to impeach.
Yeah, they were on board with Nixon. And
if they
aren't on board now, if it's proven objectively that he genuinely did do unethical things, then that's absurd.
Well, look, that's enough.
And it'll tear them apart.
We can ask 800,000 questions about this all day, and it's a lot of fun. But I
think that's the biggest thing moving forward. How do the Republicans deal with this if that is indeed what happens?
That's my answer to you. I don't know.
Sure.
Caleb, what do you think?
Do you have a take on that, Caleb?
Nah, you guys went down a rabbit hole there.
What?
Oh, okay.
I think that's the biggest issue moving forward if that happens, but that's fair. We can move on to the next
Caleb's playing Rocket League, but yeah, let's move on.
No, I'm not playing Rocket League. I'm actually specifically reading an article on Vox which says, was the Democratic primary rigged?
I mean, in ways you can see it was, in ways maybe it wasn't. Look, it's a gray area. This isn't Zimbabwe. This isn't Russia.
Here, hold on. Come on. It's not.
Let's keep it in perspective.
But again, the idea that the Democratic Party has this super delegates, which can do whatever they want.
Yeah, but it's so minimal.
It's stupid.
It's not minimal. It's not minimal. When Bernie
minimal in terms of impact.
But regardless of the impact, it's stupid. Regardless of the impact,
win by.
Look, regardless of the impact, it leaves me feeling a type of way. So take that for what you will. All right. So
it's a very, very, very small percentage of the delegates. You're not wrong. It's fucked up, but it's not.
Yeah, right. And that's the answer. You're not wrong. It's fucked up.
It would not have changed the outcome.
You look at, hold on, the amount of points here from 538's endorsement tracker.
Yeah.
Hillary outperformed even people like Al Gore, her own husband, Obama, John Kerry, Dukakis. I don't know. It's just
she performed very well. Look at that.
It's salty. Right. I'm salty about it.
Well, I'm salty because I was a little bit of a fan of Bernie. So
I'm honestly real quick for what is it, 2020? Right, that's the one we're looking at.
Yep.
I'm hoping that Bernie Sanders does not run and says, "I endorse Tulsi Gabbard for the win."
I think he would. From all the candidates that I've seen potentially running, if you throw Tulsi in with that, I don't know that he would nominate anybody else.
Ojeda?
Or not nominate, but endorse.
Right.
I don't think he would nominate Ojeda because Ojeda does have some weird stances on energy because of where he's from, which I forgive him for, but I don't know who would forgive him for. I forgive him for it because he's about the workers.
Right.
Listen, if we're gonna trash the environment, but along the way help everybody out and make sure everyone gets a little bit, I'm not gonna be opposed to that. But we don't do that right now. Okay, rich people take a lot, and it's sickening.
Right.
I think though, when you go back real quick to 2020, if that were the case, Tulsi Gabbard appeals to women, right? Obviously, she's a woman. But if she got Bernie's endorsement with that, you would have all the college-age kids storming out to go vote for her, just like they did for Bernie. But because Bernie was kind of painted as, and I use this phrase lovingly, like a crazy Jew, Tulsi doesn't come off that way. So she would have a bit more favorable, I think, like general Democrat votes, as well as what Bernie was able to bring out. And I think that would be really powerful for the Democratic Party.
I didn't even know Bernie was Jewish. So
look, we got a little left, right, and center going on in this podcast. We always do. And
There
from
you
the left side over here, I would be a fan of. I would vote for the Democratic ticket if it was Bernie on it, or Tulsi on it, or Ojeda. Anybody else right now? I'm not sure. Those three, I would love.
Not even Biden.
I don't like Biden. Okay, I just don't. Retreads are not my flavor. I just retread. It feels retread.
Is that what it is? It's retread.
Yeah, it just feels retread. You know, it just feels like we can do better. We can think more outside the box. We can really start solving problems common sense wise if we attack it in a really. Which, by the way, Trump had a. He could have. He was so outside the box in the way he got elected. He was so outside the system. He had a real chance to like put some pressure, and he didn't. All right, hypothetical number 2.
Ooh.
I'm going to read it right now. Chad, This is pretty good. I liked it. And I'll give my response, and then Chad, you can go after me. So here it is. Let's imagine a day in the future where society is perfected. There are no social issues or financial problems at all. Society is perfect. No problems to solve. Are we better off as humans, or do we get bored?
Can I just throw a monkey wrench right into this one?
Caleb starts first. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Hot take.
This means humans don't exist.
Okay, we're gonna move on because that's not wrong, but that means it shuts the whole conversation.
Society is perfect when humans are on.
The first thing that I wrote, and it's kind of in the direction that Caleb went, not necessarily with that idea, but I said you wouldn't be bored if society was perfected, because bored would be a problem. Society is perfect. All right. If we had mass boredom, then society is not perfect. That being said,
okay, that's a bit of a problem with the phrasing rather than addressing.
That being said, I did write a troll comment and then a real comment. That being said,
open with the troll, please.
I did already. That being said,
gotcha.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
I take your point on what you meant. Having purpose in life is definitely essential to like being healthy. Right? We have mental issues in society these days. We have a lot of weird things going on. Like having purpose definitely is good for having a mental balance, right? And being mentally healthy in life. We do a bad job in society in a lot of ways, and in maximizing the potential of people by like demotivating them with the work they're in. So like if you're some manager at Rite Aid and are you doing or as productive in that job as you otherwise would have been in a job that
specific example, Cyril?
I wrote it down. I was just something that hit me when I wrote it down. These are my thoughts that I wrote down. It is, but it's because I wrote it down. But yeah, this is personally for me, and this wasn't a part of the last week's podcast, but it was said before or after when me and Cheddar were just kind of bullshitting. This is why I've loved in the last month or two lobbing grenades on Twitter, because as little as it does, which it does do very little, all right, I get it, but it kind of fulfills that side of me that like loves to respond to people and like engage, because this is the stuff that I love, right? I'm sitting at work doing not necessarily things that I love. I like going to work because the people I work with are awesome, but the things that we do aren't necessarily, we all didn't like, same thing with all of us. We all didn't just like grow up thinking, oh, let me just do this, you know? But yeah, being able to lob these things, and especially talking with you guys every week, like, you know, they keep that just like purpose side fulfilled in some ways. So
I just don't think that we're ever going to get to this idea of a perfect society, because
we won't,
because intrinsically humans are flawed, and we will always do
Right.
something to sabotage perfection.
and it
I
seems
think
like
the
to
future,
me,
though, looks
Yeah.
like us exploring, hopefully, the outer reaches of space in our universe, and
right.
that's where people find that sense of purpose.
I think what makes life really fun is that you have to continually, and not even life, but I think what this journey that life on Earth has taken to think about is really fun, is that it's played whack-a-mole the whole time. So every time we figure out a way to improve our lives and make things better, other problems pop up. You're continually playing whack-a-mole. There's always things that pop up. Like how much good has, and if even the biggest environmentalist, even the biggest like climate change acceptor would have to admit how much good for society, how much good for disadvantaged people, and just people in general, has like oil done. It's done a lot of good. Now we have to figure, and we have to play whack-a-mole now because it's doing a lot of bad on the opposite end, right? We have to figure this shit out, but it's done a lot to push society forward. So things to think about. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't remember why. I'm trying to remember what prompted me to think about this hypothetical. Because it kind of sat in my mind for a bit until we were talking. I can't remember when we were talking, Sarah, but we were kind of just bullshitting around on Rocket League and just talking
after,
yeah, and I posted these. But I think roughly speaking, I was thinking about like the concept of death, right? So in terms of a single individual human life, we all have to deal with the concept of death. Like that's just an inevitability for us, unfortunately. And I was thinking of that in context of like, that's kind of what gives purpose and drive and meaning to us, because we know that our time is limited. We know that there are problems to deal with. We know that there are things that we have to overcome. And death is like sort of that end game, like consequence. And it sort of gives that context to our life, right? So in a greater sense, in terms of humanity, if we were to solve all the problems and the consequences that were facing us, does that give us any context really to appreciate the things that we have, or does that give us any context for things that we need to work towards? Like, imagine a world where we're all sort of existing, let's say in VR, right? We've perfected VR. It's incredible. It's perfect. Everybody's basic needs are met. Nobody's discriminated against. Nobody's shorted their rights in terms of just being able to sustain a basic living. Like there are no issues to deal with. What are we left to quote unquote play with? What are we?
That's awful.
That's awful. Why is that awful?
It's awful because I think about, and this is just how good old Cy thinks about it. You guys can tell me how you think about it, but I think about all the challenges that we as human beings have, and society has, and everything we've encountered and overcome, and it's almost like it's fun. Like it's
fun.
Purpose. It's purpose.
It absolutely is.
That's why I use the word purpose. It's purpose. Well, and purpose is everything. If there's no purpose, then what the fuck are we doing here?
Right.
Are we just gonna go to the red light districts every day and all day and just do nothing and just go ahead.
If I were to say, like, obviously we are progressing forward. As much as things feel turbulent today, we are way better off today than we were 10, 20, 50, 100, 1,000 years ago, right? So you would say, like, okay, let's extrapolate that into the future. Let's say we survive. Let's say we keep progressing. Let's say we solve things. And expand that towards like the age of the universe.
But it's impossible.
You could imagine a day though where that might be a reality if we keep existing.
I would disagree with the word imagine. You can fathom, you can obviously in the back of your mind understand that there will be a day where everything is figured out and everything just
sure. Okay, let's keep it in the context of a hypothetical.
But it is hard to imagine. Hang on, it is hard to imagine because this is something that is so fucking far away.
Sure,
and we have to overcome so many hurdles, and the hurdles that we're overcoming is exactly what I talked about before.
Give us a million years.
We're playing whack. That's not enough time. Years. That's not enough time.
That's not enough time
to figure out the whole universe.
100 years.
We're talking about something that's unfathomable. We're talking
Cyril,
literally.
internet was unfathomable to people 40 years ago. I'm talking about 1 million years of humans existing.
You also have a lot of things that you have to overcome to get there. There's no
Absolutely. Okay, so again, I'm trying to keep this in the context of hypothetical, because obviously this is not necessarily realistic. But I'm saying, like, if we were ever to get to that point,
sure,
where does that leave us?
That leaves us where we were.
We won't get to that
when we thought the world was only 3 continents.
How do you mean that?
No, there was still
to explore. We will go out into.
But that's the point, right? You never run out of
continue pushing the bounds of science and exploration. Not just exploration as far as like physically, but even mentally.
But there's nobody growing up hungry anymore. There's nobody growing up with real sort of
no, and quite frankly, it's not going to take 1 million years to get there.
I don't think it will either. That's the thing.
And I think what's going to happen is that
we can minimize struggle.
Well, we can minimize struggle, but struggle is something that humans need. We have to have struggle.
That's what I'm saying.
And I think that we will intentionally find that, right? If my belly is full and clothes are on my back and I live a relatively
because struggle gives you purpose.
At some point, I'm going to try to take something on, whether it's solving a new math problem, whether it's getting to Pluto, right? Or in 1 million years, maybe it's figuring out how I go from one edge of the universe to the other end of the universe. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know what those things are or what questions are, but I think we'll continue to find things that will continuously motivate us to strive, and we'll go through struggle. And to me, what's more interesting is, let's say we take Chad's thing and we go 1 million years from now. What's the likelihood that you'll be able to maintain your consciousness for more than a typical human lifespan of 100 years, let's say 80 to 100 years? What if you get into the 200, 300, 400 year mark? Does your brain, and do you start looking at things like morality and ethics completely differently than someone who only lives for 80 years?
And you don't even have to, like, given the current path we're on, you don't have to say 1 million. You don't have to say 100,000. You could say 1,000 years. We could be in a place where immortality is a reality. Right? Like, that completely changes the landscape. That completely changes the context of human life.
When you hit immortality, at what point, I mean, do people stop reproducing?
Yeah, you would have to, unless we've expanded enough to where we could just accommodate. But
these are things, Cyril, that I think, and I'm shocked because I feel like you have a broad imagination that you don't think about. I was shocked that you were like, "Wow, it's too far. You can't even fathom these things." And you're right, you can't fathom them. But
you can't.
I'm surprised that you're not even.
Tell me what you're fathoming then. Like, I can't think about.
I mean,
that.
I'm just talking about humans living like 10,000 plus
immortality.
years.
I'm talking about
you're talking about being able to transfer consciousness,
the edge of the universe. You know,
I there's, especially at the rate we're at such an exponential rate that.
And if I want to turn this into a novel, what I do is that 100,000 years from now, it's just like Star Trek and Star Wars, where those aliens that you meet in Star Trek, they're not actually aliens per se. They're actually forms of humans that went off in a spaceship 10,000 years ago, and we're just now meeting them again, and they just look completely different. You know what I mean? Like, if I were to imagine the future, to me, that's what it might look like.
Yeah, and I guess more what I was trying to drive at with this hypothetical is like just the essence of what we find to be the purpose of our own existence.
Struggle is the purpose of our existence.
It seems to be that way. I feel like if again, purely hypothetical, but if we were to perfect society, we would absolutely become bored to death. I feel like that's true.
I don't think we would. No, I disagree with you. I don't think it would become bored to death. I think some people would. I think most people would gravitate towards some type of challenge, albeit whether it's mental, physical, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but let's talk in context of extended human life. 10,000, 50,000 years. You're talking about people that might just like turn the switch off because they're just bored.
That might be.
They've experienced everything.
I think at that point. So imagine a world in which you have the ability to create power from nothing, just about, right? Let's say you have nuclear. What is it? Nuclear fission or fusion? Which one's
fusion? Fusion's the one
crazy one. Okay, fusion.
The future.
Imagine you have fusion. Imagine you have a 3D printer that can literally print anything, and you have all the materials.
Yeah.
All the materials needed for said 3D printer, right? and you go off into the vast expanse all by yourself, because someone will do that, right? They'll become a nomad. They will go off on their own and do a walkabout throughout the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And they might stop at a planet and say, you know what? I'm fucking bored and I'm lonely. Let me make something. And they make their own Earth with people, and they themselves become God. But if I joke a little bit about that, but seriously, I mean, imagine if someone were able to be alive for 50,000 years. To me, mentally, right, the perspective that person has, from my viewpoint right now, that person would be a god. Imagine everything that they would know, all the experiences that they've been through.
Oh God, yeah, it's literally oh God, yeah.
Right? So I think that's really, if you're talking about a million years in the future, I think you get to the point where, maybe not immortal, but you would be able to exist for thousands upon thousands of years, and the knowledge that you would have and the things that you would, those people are gonna experience ethical dilemmas that are just so far beyond our imagination.
Right. It's funny you say that, because as you know, I don't know how apt we should be to drop names on here, but my significant other and I were at your place recently, a couple days ago. Literally yesterday, wasn't it? Jesus, that was yesterday. Hanging out with your kids, your very young kids, and Stacy. Oh Jesus, just dropped the name, so completely ruined that. But we were on the drive home, right?
Keep it dropped though. Go ahead, keep going.
Sure. We were on the drive home, and we were talking about, just hanging out with you guys, hanging out with the kids. And I was like, it feels like one of the biggest appeals to children, right? Like, this obviously isn't the only reason people have children, but one of the biggest appeals to children is that you can vicariously live through children that wonder and that experience and that awesomeness of just being alive and learning new things and experiencing new things. Like, that's so refreshing to see, especially because, like, that's something we really valued growing up. Like, our childhood was just like the wonder of the world and just learning new things. And just
Can I say something really quick?
Sure. Yeah.
We stand on the shoulders of those that came before us. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I guess in this context, like Caleb's talking about going off and becoming our own gods with these planetary systems. And I totally understand the appeal of that, because I was talking just about that in terms of like having kids. Because like, as you get older, you're used to the world. You get used to the ways of the world. You get used to the way things are. But then you have kids and they're like absolutely incredibly enthusiastic about everything. And they experience things for the first time. And you're like, God damn, that's just nice. New experiences are nice. You know what I mean? So
my question to you is where did that stop for you? Why did it stop?
Because you just get used. You don't learn new things so much anymore. You kind of get used to the ways of the world. You kind of grow cynical and a bit older and a bit more cynical.
So do you think that that's what happens? So imagine somebody that lives for 50,000 years. Do you think they'll just be Sunny Sai?
Yeah, absolutely. Crabby, for sure.
I don't think so. I think that they'll be the most objective people you will ever meet in your life.
Yeah, but you've seen, so like if you're talking about long terms like that, like 5,000, 10,000, whatever, however many years, you are going to experience things. You're going to know these experiences. You're going to experience them time and time again. They will get old. You are used to them. You have memory. You have knowledge. You know these things. Like, they just get old. They get dull. We're humans. We like experiencing new things.
Right, but if you had the ability and you had the technology to do whatever you wanted, don't you think that people would continue to try to craft something in order to reinvent that experience?
Maybe. Or even erase their memories so they can experience it all over again.
True. Or what they do.
Maybe.
What's the likelihood then that right now we're sitting on a planet that somebody actually did make?
Yeah. That's honestly, if you were intellectually honest, not something that you could dismiss entirely. It's not. It's extremely unlikely. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I don't know. That was sitting in my brain, and I just vomited that out in the Hangouts, and I was like, let's see what these guys feel about that. So
I think what I find interesting is that no matter how many times you do these exercises, human existence just comes back to one thing, and that's struggle. Like we thrive on struggle.
Good.
We grow so much from struggle. We learn so much from struggle.
Struggle gives us the biggest purpose we can find.
And that's something I was talking to my wife about this morning. You know, we're driving out to the tree farm, and I'm sitting there, and I was like, you know,
Stokey? Sorry to
we-
name drop, but
we went to Wilbur's.
Oh,
so
fair enough.
he looked over and he said, you know, sometimes you just got to ride the struggle bus. Okay.
All aboard.
All
Well,
aboard.
you know, so real quick though. Seriously, I was looking at my wife, and I was like, you know, in a few months, I turned 30.
Yeah.
What the fuck have I done the last couple of years? Have I put myself in a situation where I've been challenged to the point where I grew? Have I done that recently? When's the last time I've done that? And I couldn't honestly say when.
In what way, in
myself.
what terms?
Physically,
You challenge
mentally.
yourself. You challenge yourself at work all the time because you've gotten a bunch of promotions, and so there's no question.
No,
that-
absolutely. But
Sure.
I guess for me, and this is what's interesting, is what am I motivated by that? It's monetary gain. You know, when have I put myself in a
That's
situation?
okay though,
It is okay. I'm not saying it's not.
because it's not
I'm saying
necessarily.
there's-
I know
hold on,
you
hold
pretty
on.
well. It's not necessarily for your selfish gain, right? It's for
No. I'm
you
not
have a
disagreeing.
family, right?
But what's more valuable? Something where you've been put in a situation where you have to earn money, so you do these things so that you can earn money. And not saying that that's not valuable, but it's different when you're going out of your way, completely of your own volition, to put yourself in a situation to grow and to struggle from something. Whether
No,
it's
I agree.
challenging yourself,
Something
to
you're
read a
motivated by.
book, maybe it's
Right.
to run a marathon, maybe it's, I don't know
Sure.
what it is, but something to push you over the edge. And I was
Being
talking to my wife about
yeah.
this. I remember specifically day 2 in basic training doing push-ups in a mud pit, and I had done probably like 200, baby push-ups at that point because my arms were falling apart, my shoulders were hurting, and I remember looking over to this kid that I literally just met yesterday. We were both kind of like scared because the drill sergeant might be looking your way and he's gonna come and he's gonna fuck you up. And I looked at this kid, and what happened? I just started laughing. Me and this kid just started laughing hysterically, realizing that this really isn't that bad. And you found that new physical limit, that new mental limit for you. You know, when's the last time you pushed beyond that threshold? And I think that if I lived for 50,000 years, Chad, that's what I would end up doing, finding ways to continue to push that limit.
Would you though?
I would.
Give yourself the sense of immortality, right?
I think you would only be bored for
You
so long.
always
before you
have
finally got off your ass.
another day to give yourself meaning, right?
Here, let me, if I can say,
And that's a whole different tangent, but
being
Go ahead,
motivated,
Cyril.
being motivated by things that fulfill your specific or like a longing for purpose is much better than being motivated for just monetary gain, for sure. And I think
agree.
that's kind of what Caleb was getting at.
Right.
And also, I'd like to compare it to something. It's
Mhm.
almost like having a one-night stand and having just random sex, or having sex with someone that you actually love. There's a big
Mhm.
difference.
there
Mhm.
is
Difference.
100%.
So if one feels a lot better than the other. So even though the other can still be fulfilling in ways, you that's why I told you guys lobbing grenades, even just something simple as like setting up a website and being able to link that website and now lob from Twitter as if I semi look like I know what I'm doing. Feels nice.
Well,
It does,
gives
I'm
you,
not gonna
gives
lie.
you that
Yeah.
sense of purpose, and you're going through
Right,
the struggle
exactly.
of trying to,
Right.
do whatever your goal is. And I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. I know you guys know I'm a fan of Joe Rogan's. I was
Oh, we
listening
all
to
are.
David
Go ahead.
Goggins. I don't know if you guys know who David Goggins is.
Not at all.
This guy's he was a Navy SEAL. He was a Air Force ComTac or TACCOM. I forget what they're called. Did a whole bunch of stuff. He broke the all-time pull-up record. Just did all these sort of stuff. And him
Yeah.
and Joe are talking, and at one point he was like, what you got to remember is that with humans is existence is pain and it's struggle. And the one thing they were talking about is, it's funny because everybody's working towards retirement. Everyone's scared of what the truth is, and the truth is that struggle for humans never ends. Till the day you die, you will always struggle. You
I love
always
that.
will.
Right.
And
I
you
love
have
that.
to. Cyril will love this. You have to embrace the suck.
You do.
Yes, and you absolutely. You also have to. Life is complicated. You have to understand that some
True.
people may be out of sorts, and their struggle can be harder, right? Not even just because of the environment
No,
or
of course.
position they're in, but because of like their mental capacity or something that affected them. So a lot of things
But
that go on
imagine-
there.
Absolutely.
But yes,
absolutely.
but all of us struggle. That's
there
why
is-
that's why I'm not a super fan of anybody who complains without at least saying this is how I can fix it. Because if you're just complaining to complain, it's like, come on, yo. You don't even at least have a plan. You're just gonna sit here and bitch. Go ahead.
Right. Like I absolutely agree. Number one, A, that struggle is necessary to give context to human life. But B, there are certain amounts of struggle that are unjustifiable, right? We can, again, and I know we say this a million times, we can always do better. There are levels of quote unquote struggle in this world that are unacceptable. People should not have to
we
go.
get better at it, but yeah.
Yeah, right. Like certain amounts of struggle are necessary. There are amounts of struggle that are just egregious, unnecessary, and people just end up suffering as a whole because of it, right?
Yeah.
So we
Our
recognize
population
it
growth proves we get better at it, though. So there's still room.
I think what I find interesting is, although you're right, that struggle can be very bad. A lot of the times that's where you find gems of people, though. I mean, look at a lot of comedians, right? They come from fucked up homes. Look at a lot of. I'm just saying, situationally. Sometimes, sometimes that struggle can produce a human.
Yeah, but it produces 90% of broken people.
I get that.
When we talk about the whole world and all of humanity, do not want to equate a comedian's struggles in America to a third world child who dies at 9 because they literally didn't have enough to eat. That's
again. I'm not trying to compare those things. I'm just saying you can't.
I think that's what Chad was referencing, though. I don't think Chad was referencing the comedian in America. Right?
No, I know.
Right. So again, so Caleb, there is a medium amount of struggle where people can be pushed,
starving to death.
But also the people that fall to the wayside are absolutely devastated and horrified by the existence that they have. Right.
We need not confuse
a healthy medium.
Right.
But the privileged complaining bitches of the first world with third world people who have real fucking struggles.
Right.
I mean, that's also not fair, right?
Why?
I mean, because somebody can't eat doesn't mean that they have it harder than somebody that's dealing with, severe depression.
I actually agree with that, but we can also agree that, come on, America's
it's a different kind of struggle. I'm not saying that it's not richer.
There are hierarchies of struggle. Right?
Yeah, but there's definitely hierarchies of struggle. Of course.
I'm not saying there isn't.
Right.
I'm just saying that Cyril is just conveniently discounting this first world problem. Like, fuck you guys. You got nothing to bitch about.
Not at all.
This isn't true.
I'm just being realistic with which area struggles more.
Right, because I would say that the family that stays together in the middle of Africa and might starve to death but still has a family is, quite frankly, better than the kid who just is abused and molested by a stepfather for years upon years.
Why? When they died? What's the point of life? Is it not to live?
But if in that point, I get that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What about in that time of life? At least I had a family that cared about me, that I worked with, and I was a part of.
And I agree with that. I understand where you're coming from, but I just prioritize the actual living part more. Don't laugh, Chad. I mean, it's so ridiculous.
Because some people
love it.
Some people would go through life and rather fucking die like that other family did than to continue to have to live and have the memories of everything that they've been through. So
but you have to be given
I think that's right.
Of sustainable existence before you can go into higher levels of angst. Absolutely. But I just
and that's where I land on that.
I thought that was so apt that what is the point of life? Is it not to live? I just thought that was great. I wasn't laughing. I just thought it was fucking great.
Well, I would have read the tape and it sounded like laughing, but maybe it wasn't. All right, anyways.
It was definitely
was laughing, but in terms of agreement, I just thought it was so great. I thought it was just great. No, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at how apt it was. But yeah.
All right, let's rip off this last link real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want. I kind of also
about the link where millennials are rebuilding society.
That's not the one. Yeah. I don't think that's what it was really about.
No, stop blaming millennials. Kill the economy.
No, I was gonna say I don't really. I never want these podcasts to go like an hour and a half. That's a little too long. All right, anyways,
I want them to go 4 hours long. Next time we should have beers.
Oh, that sounds great. Like Dan Carlin's Hardcore. Let's do it. All right,
history. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, those are great. Just an article from The Atlantic. I really don't know how reputable that source is, but whatever.
Well, the opinion is all the
basically
same.
An article about how we do hear a lot of blaming or read or hear a lot about blaming millennials for specific parts of the economy, whether it be like specific corporations or like specific chains of this or that getting like killed off because like millennials like don't I really don't know what the basis. I can't really recall. Maybe you guys can. What the basis of a typical millennial bashing article is for bashing the millennials. But anyways, this one it just highlights the fact that like these are quite unique times, and times change quite frequently these days, and people are earning less when they start out. People are having to pay a lot more to get the education to start out at a lesser position than ever before. So there's a lot of choices that millennials may not even, or any group of people may not even realize they're making, but it's just based off of the environment that they're in, And I get, especially in this day and age, in the Trump age, we'll call it, I get so sick of just anything that's divisive. Like, if we want to point out problems and then we want to talk about the solutions to those problems, I'm about it. If we want to point out problems and we want to just blame people because of their age or their color or their sex, like I get so sick of that shit. I'm so tired of that. I'm open to solutions, right? That's the first thing that hit me. Not this article specifically. This article does not blame millennials, but the first thing I was thinking about was like all the articles we've read and all the things we've heard, not just about millennials, but about anybody, insert your whatever here, whatever time period it is. Oh, blame these people, it's just like, oh, Jesus Christ. Can we talk about how to solve this? Can we not be divisive?
Well, sometimes to come up with a solution, you've got to identify if there actually is a problem. Now, it looks like this article, after I read it, they're saying that the problem is that the problem is not the millennials.
Of course, the problem is people who point out one specific group of people. Because honestly, if we want to talk about solutions, we have to all be in this together. We have to stop fucking dividing ourselves. Like, we have to figure out, okay, you're American, I'm American. All right, let's figure this out together.
Well,
like,
even right there, that's a label. According to your argument, you can't do that.
That's
you're putting a label on, right?
Then I would amend what I said to, you can use the labels I get. Look, all right, fuck you.
I think the point that...
You know what I mean, though? Like, obviously, we still have to live in this world where we have labels. If you try to go unlabelless, that just sounds ridiculous. Spare me, okay? We still can use labels and do general good inside of borders. Like, we don't have to divide ourselves inside of these borders. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
No, here's what I don't understand. Sure. I feel like this whole blaming of millennials thing really is just clickbait bullshit.
I mean, I'm sure that's
So honestly,
also a lot of millennial problem, ironically enough.
Right, 100%. Well, I don't know.
Wow,
I don't know about that.
Hyper. Clickbait's always been a thing, but it's been really.
See, it has been upped, and I think that it's been targeted in millennials' defenses towards the older generations, the boomers. I mean, clickbait. Most people that are our age, and I think I'm towards the top end of that millennial scale, but most people that are within our age group, they know what the fuck clickbait is, and they don't click on it.
Yeah, it's just so stupid. Yeah.
If I may point out, our dear mother clicks on everything on fucking Facebook.
Right.
Everything.
She's been like frauded by like buying the wrong apps and stuff.
Oh, bless her. And what is that targeting, right?
Yeah.
And it's easy. If my label here is millennials did something, are millennials
These are the same
on
people,
that, really?
No, they're not. These are the same people. The people clicking on that are the same people. It's just so stupid seeing like millennials killed Buffalo Wild Wings. Those are the people that are clicking on that link. It's like millennials killed Buffalo Wild Wings. When it should be Buffalo Wild Wings sucks and serves ass food for overpriced seating at a place where the main attraction is staring at TVs for whatever sports reason.
Right. In an age where people don't have that much discretion.
Establishment is garbage. Figure it out. I'm sure you don't pay your employees enough.
What would we kill? We killed, let's see what we killed. We killed diamonds. We've killed wedding rings. Let's see what else have we killed. McDonald's apparently to some extent. Golf, department stores.
I don't know.
Canned tuna. Interestingly enough.
Oh, I saw that recently.
I think it's funny that as you.
Oh, was that in the article?
These are all things that there's. What is it? Correlation is not equal to causation. Is that isn't that the phrase?
That is scapegoat. Correlation is not causation. Scapegoat.
Okay, the list of decrease. This is the one that you're reading, right? Okay, golf. Let's talk about golf.
I play golf all the time.
Yeah, but a lot of millennials just aren't into golf. Okay, let's fucking move on.
Yeah, welcome
No, I
to
agree.
culture.
Right, move on.
Department stores. That's because we have fucking Amazon. The
Sure.
McDonald's
Yeah,
We also
McWrap.
don't have money.
The
as a
McDonald's McWrap. How
Yeah.
oddly
Yeah, I don't even know what that
specific of
is.
a thing to
I don't
point
even
to.
know. What that is.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't.
canned
Yeah,
tuna.
no, that's, oh, yeah,
Canned
these are in
tuna.
the article. Right there.
Let me keep going. Canned tuna. Let's talk about that. Because you were killing dolphins trying to catch tuna.
Well, no, what it said was
Oh, I don't know.
we buy
I
either
don't care.
fresh or frozen as opposed to canned.
Okay, that's because there's a shitload of mercury in
Makes it
canned
taste
tuna,
better.
and it also,
Well,
quite
fresh
frankly,
tastes
there's a lot
better.
of. God, you guys forget that there's a damn TV show about not killing the whales, and they talk about this kind of stuff. So yeah, people are less likely to get canned tuna
it's
because
that.
there's.
Yeah, it's
That's
definitely
not that much of it, but that's a variable.
It's definitely
No, that's a
more-
big thing that's out there, Cyril.
It is.
Literally, if you go to any canned tuna packet, it says, caught without dolphins.
Oh,
Why is that
I
on
didn't
there?
know that.
Why,
No,
why
it def-
is it on the fucking can?
It definitely has something to do with
Oh, that's nice.
a greater awareness of social issues, but it also has to do with the fact that we just don't have as much money as the fucking
Correct. Ding, ding,
Well,
ding.
no,
We don't
that's
have
not a good
industry
argument.
type
That's-
jobs just being handed
What?
out.
No, that's not a
What?
good. No, that's not good in this specific case, Cyril. And canned tuna is cheaper than buying.
Oh,
frozen
yeah,
or
no,
fresh.
not in this case.
No, but in general.
No, but in general, yeah.
Millennials are killing industries
they're
because we
killing
don't
country
get paid the
Spare
same
me.
as the generation before
Spare
us.
me.
No,